guys, Meg Epps here, the owner of Lindley Grove, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how you can use your counterculture dispersion colors as your base coat. Going into winter, sometimes spray paints can be a little bit pesky, so this is just another alternative, especially for people that live in colder weather, states. This is a great alternative, and honestly, I like using this technique all year round, especially for a color that I might not have or be able to find in spray paint. This is a great alternative. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a cup from start to finish, and this is, I used opal glitter, and I'm going to be using opal glitter in the tutorial, but you can totally use this just like any other base coat that you are doing, and you could do the base coat color and match it to your glitter. So now, once we get a little bit further into the tutorial, I will go over the difference and what you need to do if you are going to use the same color glitter rather than using the opal. So we'll get into that in a little bit. But what you also are going to need is your dispersion colors. Something that is important to note when you are picking your colors, it's always good to go ahead and do a little test run, get a little bit of your epoxy, pour it in a little medicine cup. You only need like 5 ml, and drop a little bit in. Some of the dispersion colors are a little bit more transparent than the other ones, so you definitely want to choose the ones that are more opaque. Now, if you do need to use a color that is more transparent, just drop a few drops of the white in there, dispersion color, and it will opaque it up. It will make it better coverage. We are going to be using this as a base coat, so we definitely want to get that stainless steel covered up with color and not be able to see the stainless steel through. Now, so also what you're going to need is you're going to need your prepped stainless steel tumbler. You want to go ahead and just sand this, go ahead, wash it down with Dawn, wipe it down with alcohol, and that's all you're going to need to do. You go ahead and pull out your glitters. The glitters that I'm going to be using today are the opal glitters from Counterculture, and I picked out the 3 that are my favorite, and I like to mix them together. And that's Ivory Sky. This is a little bit more chunky, and then the 2 other ones are finer, and that's Moon Dust and Crystal Ball. So we're going to mix all those up, and again, this is the outcome that we're going for. We want our tumbler to look like this. And then you're going to need a mixing cup, your epoxy, stir sticks, any safety equipment that you're going to need to wear, and some gloves. I like to have some rubbing alcohol and baby wipes next to me just in case anything gets messy, and then you will need your turner. So let's get started. I'm really excited to show you guys this because this tumbler is just so pretty, and it's been one of my top sellers. So here we go. So I am going to go ahead, and I have measured them out in 2 separate containers for my part B and my part A. I did mark my side of my medicine cup right here for my part B, for my part A, so I know which one is, because I like to start with my part A, I like to start with my part B first. So I'm going to go ahead and put these 2 equal parts into 1 cup, and then we are going to mix them up. And I'm going to make sure that I'm scraping out all of this, because you really want to ensure that you are getting that 1-to-1 ratio, and that is only going to ensure a better outcome for your epoxy, and you won't have any problems with it curing. I'm just using a little silicone stick here. Counterculture sells some really good ones for mixing that we'll use here in a bit. You can get them off the website. And now I'm going to go ahead and use the part A. I'm going to put part A on top of the part B. And the reason why I do part A second is because part A is a lot thicker than part B. And by putting the part A on top of part B, it will sink to the bottom, allowing you to get a better mixture. If you were to put part B on top of part A, because the part B is so thin, it would just sit on top of the part A. And this is just to help you get a better, mixture, less work. And I'm just scraping these cups, these little medicine cups, making sure I'm getting all of that out of there. And then I'm gonna put this right off to the side. I'm gonna take a little baby wipe because I like to try to keep all my tools as clean as possible, but you know, with working with epoxy, things can get messy. So, and this tutorial we will, because we are using a little bit thicker of a thicker base coat here. Like I said, you'll see here in a minute what I mean by that. It can get a little bit messy because some of it might drip off, but don't worry. So now I'm just going to use a metal stir stick. I like to use a metal stir stick because if you use a wooden popsicle stick, the wood is porous, so that it will make more bubbles in your epoxy. So by using a metal stir stick, just allows you to get less bubbles. It will help you get less bubbles, and that's just what I prefer. So I'm just going to mix this up. If you guys want a good tutorial on how to mix up your epoxy, you can check out an older tutorial that was posted on Counterculture's YouTube channel, and it is another tutorial that I did, and it shows you how to mix up your epoxy, and it's a great tutorial, and I go over how I stir and all of that. So you can definitely check that out. But right now I'm just going to go ahead and mix this up. I am not going to worry about bubbles as much as I would if this was my top layer, because we are going to be putting glitter over top of this, so you don't have to worry about those bubbles showing. And here is just a good little example. I'll put this off to the side so you guys can see. This is what the cup will look like after we add the glitter and it dries, and it will be ready for part 3, the third part of the process, which would be to add your clear coat. And I will make sure that you guys see the whole entire process and what this looks like under, you know, the clear epoxy and totally finished, ready to send out to a customer or to use personally. Now, and also guys, you don't have to use opal glitter as your base coat. You can totally use, so if you were gonna do just like you were gonna use when you do your spray paint base coats, and you try to match your spray paint to the color that your glitter is, you can totally do that with the dispersion colors. So if you used the purple and because you needed a purple glitter, you know, use your purple dispersion color, which is indigo, and then you can cover it right with the purple glitter. So it will work just like that. So you can use it, or you can cover it with white, and it will just make that really pretty coat, which I kind of like doing the opal glitters over these, but it's definitely a great technique to use during the winter when those spray paints want to be pesky. So you can use this, you know, all year long also. And it's fun because some of the dispersion colors, you know, you can't get that color in spray paint. So it's just, you know, it's more colors for that you can match up to your glitters. So I'm just getting this mixed up. We want to make sure that we're stirring for 3 minutes at least. I kind of go a little bit over just to ensure that I'm getting a really good mixture. I stir until I see, you know, until it's all clear and there's no more little wisps in there. Make sure you're scraping your sides. And I am whipping this up, guys, so I am not worried about these bubbles. Oops. And I think we're good to go. All right, so I'm gonna take my little metal stir stick out of here and wipe her again with my little baby wipe here. We're going to stick this off to the side, let those bubbles rise, and we're going to go ahead and get our cup, which I am using a wine stainless steel cup tonight. on our turner. Make sure everything is situated. Okay. So actually I'm going to take this off of the turner for a second, just so that you guys can see me mix up the dispersion colors. So I am going, now I want to make sure that I'm using a very, some of these will be, some of the dispersion colors are a little bit more transparent than the others. I know that the flamingo one is a great one to use, and I know that the baby blue is the great one to use. So we're going to see, I would like to see if the peach is is going to be similar and not so transparent. So I'm just going to do a little test over here with it. And just put a little bit of epoxy in there. Okay, so this is perfect. So this is what I mean by it being very opaque, okay? So you want to make sure that that is a very opaque color, and you can't really see through it. So this is perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour a whole bunch of this in here. Now you might not use the full 50 mLs because we did use 25 mLs of each part A and part B. And that's okay. So if you have anything left over, you know, you can just use it in a little mold. I'm just going to put a few drops in here. That was probably about 4 drops. And I'm going to mix this up. And you don't want to pour a ton of that in there because it can get very goopy. So just less is more. This is going to be so pretty. So this is, so see how that is very opaque. Oops, sorry. See how that is very opaque and isn't very translucent? That's what you want. So some of the other ones might be a little bit more translucent. So you might have to play around with it a little bit. You can always add a tad bit of white in there too. Just to, I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. Just to give it a little bit more opaqueness, okay? Perfect. And I would have used white if it was nearby, but the yellow is there. Okay. So now that we got this mixed up, and guys, I'm using Counterculture's little metal stir sticks. They're great. They're covered on, the outsides are covered with silicone, and they're metal, so they're perfect. Make sure you get some. I am going to pop my bubbles, and we are going to get started. All right. So we are using the peach, okay? Peach. All right, I'm going to turn my turner on, and you're just going to start like you would putting any type of epoxy on here. You just want to go ahead. I like to kind of drizzle it all around the cup so that when I'm sliding my finger around it, it just helps everything goes smoother. So I do a little drizzle. This is just my way. You can go ahead and dip your finger in and just start putting it on there. However you apply your epoxy, that's all you're doing, is you're just applying epoxy, okay? And we want to get so we're just gonna start putting her on there. And don't start panicking if you start seeing the stainless steel shine through, okay? Because you are still going to see that stainless steel come through. But we're going to make this, and that's why I said doing a thicker coat is going to benefit you, because the thicker your coat is, the better your color will show. I'm just doing my bottom here. Okay, make sure she's all the way up on the rim. And also, once this starts spinning, it will even out. It will self-level, and it won't be so splotchy. Alright, so we got this covered really good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting that peachy color to come through. And by that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really put a thick layer on here. Now, if you are going to use a glitter that matches this, I would suggest really waiting until this thickens up a lot. You want it to almost be tacky before you put your glitter on it, so that your glitter does not sink in to that epoxy, because it will definitely make it look wet, and you don't want that. But if you're going for this look, it is important that having that epoxy still wet and allowing that glitter to lay flat down on that epoxy helps it give that like opal sheen to it, which is what I love. And I'm just going to focus on just kind of making sure, you know, any little spots that I see that could use a little bit more color on it, I'm just going through. Now, this is also going to be like your mica powder, okay? So it's going to pull at the top. So you want to just make sure that you're concentrating on the top. You're making sure you're saving a little bit so you can run it on the bottom, run your finger on the rim with the little bit that you have left over. Put some more on my bottom here. And like I said, don't worry if it starts dripping off. This is a little bit, it's a little messy, but that's okay. All right. I really do think this is going to be like a baby pink. It's going to look really pretty. Okay, I'm going to get this on. Alright, so we got this covered really good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on getting that peachy color to come through. And by that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really put a thick layer on here. Now, if you are going to use a glitter that matches this, I would suggest really waiting until this thickens up a lot. You want it to almost be tacky before you put your glitter on it, so that your glitter does not sink in to that epoxy, because it will definitely make it look wet, and you don't want that. But if you're going for this look, it is important that having that epoxy still wet and allowing that glitter to lay flat down on that epoxy helps it give that like opal sheen to it, which is what I love. And I'm just going to focus on just kind of making sure, you know, any little spots that I see that could use a little bit more color on it. I'm just going through. Now, this is also going to be like your mica powder, okay? So it's gonna pull at the top. So you wanna just make sure that you're concentrating on the top. You're making sure you're, you know, you're saving a little bit so you can run it on the bottom, you know, run your finger on the rim with the little bit that you have left over. Put some more on my bottom here. And like I said, don't worry if it starts dripping off. This is a little bit, it's a little messy, but that's okay. All right. I really do think this is gonna be like a baby pink. It's gonna look really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna get this all wiped off, and then I am going to hit this with my heat gun. And this, hitting it with your heat gun will also help everything to level out. Alright, so now we got a really nice coverage, right? Y'all see that? Don't worry. And if it starts dripping off, guys, just take your finger and just don't let, you know, because you don't want it to, you want that thick, you don't want to lose that thickness. So just help it, you know, just run your finger and catch it, and then just try to smooth it back out. And then you'll see, you know, as it starts turning, you'll see it start pulling a little bit at the top, which really isn't a big deal to me because I do go around my rims with a Dremel and give it that little ring at the top. So I'm just making sure this is, you know, any parts that are starting to pull from the top or the bottom, I'm just touching down a little bit. All right, so we have some leftover epoxy in this little thing, so let's use one of their little molds here, and we will try to get this in frame here. Hold on. And this is good, so while this is dry, while this is spinning for a second and thickening up, which we need, we want it to thicken, we want it to set a little bit. Before we put our glitter on, we'll do this little mold real quick. So I'm just going to turn the turner for a second. So we got our little heart mold, and we have a little earring mold here. Both counterculture cells, and I'm just going to go for the little heart guy. And because we did have a lot of bubbles, I'm going to go ahead and do a thin layer and then hit it with some of heat. And then I'll pour a little bit more and fill it up. Okay. Oh, well, we got a whole bunch left over here too, so we'll do some earrings. And we just pour. And I've already used this, the earring mold and the heart mold, and they are so cute. And I'm wondering if this little peach color and the earrings will make it look like those jelly earrings. I'm just gonna make sure it's around that little hole for the earring hole. And if it doesn't get there, guys, it's okay. You can always just use a little screwdriver or a drill to make your own, not a screwdriver, a drill to make your own little hole. Just gonna clean up those edges a little bit. We'll hit it with some heat. We've gotten those filled up. Let's put those off to the side. Let's see how cute those guys are. All right. All right. So now what we can do, ooh, hit my knees. So now what we can do is we can do our glitter. And this, again, you guys can totally wait till this. If you're going to match the glitter and you want it to be, you don't want it to sink in and kind of look like that tack it look to it, I would wait till this really, really thickens up and is like pretty much tacky so that your glitter does not sink in. But for the look that I'm going for, which is, again, this guy, we're going to go ahead and pour our glitters on here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 3 of Counterculture's Opal glitters, which is Moon Dust, Ivory Sky, so Crystal Ball, one of my other favorites. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to mix them up in this little medicine cup. Just a few little spoonfuls here. Our Ivory Sky. Get it open. Oops. Okay. All right. So I got all the little glitters in the medicine cup. I'm gonna give it a little stir. Oh, you know what? I gotta get a piece of paper. Hold on. Hold on. All right, so you wanna have something to catch your loose glitter. Alright, and now here we go. We're just going to sprinkle the glitter on our cup. Alright, here we go. Go ahead and get her all covered. I'm gonna give it a little tap. And you don't have to use all the glitters. You could use just, you know, one of them. I'm just gonna make sure it's all, there's no blotchy spots. And then we'll get our bottom. Okay. Take our paper, pour a loose glitter that fell back in our cup so we can do our bottom. I'm gonna turn this off for a second. Alright, so kind of give you a good look at the cup. I'm gonna do my bottom here. Give her a good tap, and now you can go through and kind of just tap any of that chunky glitter down if you wanted to, but because it's such a thick layer, just make sure you're not pressing too hard. You just want to tap, tap, tap very lightly. Okay, and you can go take your thumb, go around your rim to get any of that chunky glitter, so then that makes your rim a lot easier to clean. So you just take your thumb and just kind of run it around the edge of your tumbler, catch any of that glitter that's sticking up. Okay, so here she is. So if you wanted to add a little bit more, I kind of feel like I want to add a little bit more chunky glitter to it, so I'm going to go ahead and stick her back on her turner. And I'm going to get my Ivory Sky. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little around. But the nice thing about Ivory Sky is it has fine glitter mixed into it. I feel like this is like the perfect like baby pink color, this peach. Alright guys, so that is it. So the next part, what we will do is we'll let this dry. My turner's starting to moan over here. We'll let this dry and we'll come back after it's dried to this point. This is what we want next. So we want this to be totally dry. We don't want any of the glitter to come off. And because the epoxy is thick and it's laying flat on that epoxy, you're not gonna have to worry about any of it flaking off, okay? So this is the next, what your cup should look like after it cures, and then all you will do is add a top coat to this. We're gonna go ahead, because I had some leftover, I had so much leftover epoxy from the first cup. We're just gonna go ahead and put our clear coat of epoxy on this one. So this one I did with the Flamingo Dispersion color, and again just used the same glitters. The Ivory, I used a lot more of the Ivory Sky for this one to get that more opal, that yellow, that golden opal. So yeah, so now we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna add our clear coat to this. And I am just going to, again, this is just the way I do my epoxy. I just kind of drizzle it all over the cup. That way when I start sliding my epoxy around, my finger it just slides better. And this has started to thicken up a little bit, so. But that's okay. All right, so we're just going to add our clear coat just like you would. And look at that. See what I mean by that opal glitter laying flat into the dispersion color? It's just beautiful. I'm just gonna get it covered really well. Make sure I'm getting it all my sides. And then we'll hit with some fire. And it'll help level everything out. I'm going to go ahead and start pulling my finger down over my rim right here for my bottom. Make sure we got our bottom covered. Just gonna make sure I'm getting all of that epoxy out of this cup. We don't waste epoxy. I don't know about you guys, but I am in love. I hope that the camera is picking up how beautiful this looks. Alright, so let's go ahead and wipe our finger so we can hit this with some heat. Where's our torch? There it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit this with my heat gun first, just to help smooth some stuff out. I'm going to take my torch. I do use the counterculture torch, but this, just for the sake of the tutorial, I'd grab this small one, and I am just going to go ahead and hit it with my torch for any bubbles that are remaining. This will get them all out. So we're just going to hit make sure we go around the entire cup. You want to keep it moving. You don't want to hold it in one place, or you will burn your epoxy. So make sure you're moving your hand the entire time. And that's it, guys. And we'll just let this spin and cure. It's artist resin, so it'll probably be good to go hard to the touch in about 8 hours. And I will come back and show you guys the finished result of both of them. Thanks for watching, guys.